Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Zubair Ahmed. I'm a self-taught Java developer. So it is my first video. I'm very excited. I just have a request. Please focus on the content and ignore my mistakes. Like people say, take the good and leave the bad. So what are we here for today? So let me tell you a biggest challenge I had when I was learning coding. So whenever I went on a YouTube or, to watch a video to solve a problem, the people wrote code with the speed of light. They never explained anything, what's going on in the code, like everything is happening automatically. Of course, it was solving the problem, but there was some content I had never understood. And I even used it, later, and it solved my problem. But, there was some times when I used the same problem and it was not solving my problem because I didn't know what is going on behind the scene. How is it doing what it is doing? So, I quit coding for some time because I was thinking it's not for me because of the same mistake I was making. I was not understanding what's going on behind the scene. So this will be my, advice to those who are trying to learning by themselves. Just try to see whatever thing you are using, you have to know it first. Don't just use it. Just try to see what's happening behind the scene, what classes it's using, how this function is working, and everything. So what I have to offer. So whatever I do, whatever we write here, I will explain each and every line of code. So what is happening, why it is happening, and what are we gonna do today? We are going to take a string and we're gonna convert that string into a string array, and we're gonna split that string using some splitting techniques like space dot or whatever you want to use. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna check how many words are there in the string, how many words are repeated, how many times. So we are not gonna talk about the best practices here. I know we can use a hash map and that can solve this problem within maybe few minutes. But what we're gonna focus on is, how the for loops work. I'm gonna use the for loops, and I'm gonna use nested for loops. I'm gonna, use some string functions, how they work, like contain, index of, or something like that. I know you're familiar with them. So what happened is when first I saw this problem, how to check it. So I dare myself, I will not watch any YouTube video and I will do it myself. And literally it took me about 3 days to solve this problem. And finally I solved it, but I learned a lot. I would have not learned it watching a YouTube video or something. I learned it because I was practicing it. I practiced it for almost 3 days, and after 3 days it got solved. So without any further delay, let's jump right into it. So what we're gonna use it, we're gonna use Java first of all, and then we're gonna use Eclipse. You can use any IDE of your choice. So first of all, we're gonna create a Java project, and you can call it string duplicate, whatever you want to call it. Wow, I told you, please ignore my mistakes. Let's select the Java project and name it string duplicates. You can name it anything you want. Okay, I don't want to create module, open perspective. So I was working on a website, so it was EE perspective. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna convert it to Java perspective. So now we have the Java perspective. We go in the source. You can click Ctrl N on Windows in Eclipse. So it's gonna open a wizard, the new wizard. So you can create whatever you want. You can create new class, new project, new file, or whatever you want to create. So we're gonna create a new class over here, and we name it string algorithm. let's call it elbow. I think it's enough. So it created a string class for us. So as you know it's a public class, and we can write a main function. Main, you can just write main and hit control space. It's gonna write a main method for you. Thank you, Eclipse. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a string here. First of all, string, you can call it string, whatever name you wanna give it. So this is our string. So what we should do is, to make it simple, so we're just gonna write some names in this string because they will be easy to check. And don't worry, we're gonna change this string later, and we're gonna put here a new string, some complex string, to check if our function is program is working or not. So let's give it some random names. My name Zubair Ahmed, Peter, John, Mary, Ali. I think that's enough. So what we did is we created a string, and the string has, it's only a one single string. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna convert this string into a string array. So let's convert this to a string array. So how can we do it? We just write string class name array and give it my string name equals. So what we normally do, we create string, we call it new string, and we give here the length of the string, right? So let's say if we wanted to have the length of 10, so we give it to 10. So keep in mind, so the index start at 0, so this will have 11 elements in the string. So what we are doing is we are not creating a new string with some length. We're gonna take this string and we're gonna convert this string into string array and add that string to this array. So how can we do it? So there's a function called split. So we can use that split to split the string based on a criteria. So for example, something is very clear over here. We can use this space to separate these words, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use split based on space. So wherever the space comes, so it's gonna split the string from there and put it into this my string array. So we're gonna take this name my string, string dot, and you can see a whole lot of functions Eclipse opened for you. So you can choose split, and you see it's telling you what it is telling you, how the split work. So split this string around matches. So this is in the parentheses you're gonna give your matches, whatever you wanna whatever technique you wanna use. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna select this and we just write space. So space is our technique for splitting this string. So what it does is it's gonna split this string and put this string into this array. So for debugging, let's see if it did what we wanted it to do or not. So we just gonna print some values to console. First of all, let's write this string to console. So what you do, you can let me show you a shortcut of writing system.out.println. You just write sysout control space. It's gonna write the whole thing for you. So you can just write string. Sorry. Okay, so here you can just print string. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna print this string for us. Let's run it and see. Okay, yeah, so it did what we wanted it to do. So now as we converted this string into array, so we can use this array and print it. So let's print it. So for printing an array, if you just do sysout on this array, what it's gonna do is it's just gonna print the memory of the array. It's not gonna print the values of array. You see, this is the memory where it's stored in the memory. It is the reference of this array. So to print the values in array, you need a for loop or enhanced for loop. So I know, I'm pretty sure you guys know the loops. So let's write I enhance for loop first. I'll use the other loops in the second part, so I will explain you. If you don't know how loops work, I will just give a brief, a little bit descriptions of the loop. So first of all, how to write enhance for loop. What you have to write in the in first part, you have to write what type of value you are, looping on. So we know that we have a string, right? So if we have integer over here, like integer, or we have character array, or we have a boolean array, whatever we have over here, we have to write it over here in the loop as string. So this is the type. So we have a string type, and then you can give a space and you can write any variable of your choice. It's just the name of the variable. So you can write ABC, XYZ, whatever. I just want to call it S, and then you have to write colons, and then what is the name of the array. This is the type of the array, and this is just a variable. And what is the name of the array? The name of the array is my string. So what we're gonna write, we can copy it from there and paste it here. So what it basically saying is every variable in this string should be, so what are we going to do is we just going to print this array now, elements in the array. So we just do whatever we learned before, sys out control space, and just write down s. So this loop is gonna do is it's gonna take the index 0, put into s, then index 1, and according to the length of the array it is going to put into s, and it's coming into this sys out, and it's going to be printed on our console. Let's run it. Yep, success. Let's see what it did. So it took Zubair, Ahmed, Peter, John, Mary, Ali, and it printed on our console. So this is just to check if it was converted into array or not. I was just trying to tell you how the loop works as well, if you don't know. So this is now we have an array, right? So we have Zubair, Ahmed, Peter, John, Mary, and Ali. So what we're gonna do is we take this Zubair and check in the array, so if we have another Zubair or not. So for that, what we need, I'm sure something came in your mind. We need 4 loops, and then we need another loop. So first loop we're gonna provide this, and then the other loop, what it's gonna do is it's gonna take Zubair and check in the whole array if there's another Zubair or not. Okay, so we are going to use 4 loops for this. So let's get the loops out of the way first, then we will move on to the next step. So first of all let's design our loop. So let's design a loop that will take first element and then check in against the whole array if it is present in the array or not. So first of all let's write the loops. So how we write loops? Int I equal 0. So this is, we are taking one, we are creating an integer I and assigning it 0, and this is where the conditions come, how long loop has to run. So I until I is less than my string dot length, my string dot length, and then we increment I. So what we did here, so we assign I to 0, we create an integer assigned to 0, and why string dot length? What is it doing? So what is it checking is checking what is the length of our string. The length of our string, it means how many elements are there in the string, and why it has to be less than length. So let me explain. So length of the string is, how many elements? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the length of the string is 6, right? Let me write 6 here. 6. So length of the string is 6. I mean, we are checking array, right? So we don't have anything in the array, so that's why we are just writing above over here. So okay, so the length of our array is 6. Now why we wrote less than 6? Because the index of our array start with 0. This is going to be 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So if we write equal to 6, that means our compiler will think it has 6 items in the list, but we only have I mean it has 7 items, because 6 means there will be 6 as well, so this will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So that's why we are writing the length less than length and then I plus plus. So let's remove it. Let me show you what I mean here too. Leave the row for now, sys or you out. So if we want to check what is at the index of, I'm sure you guys know how to check it, but let me just write it for a quick demo. My string at 1. If we check what is my string at 1, the index of 1, what is going to print? Sorry, I never saved it. Okay, here, Ahmed. So it printed Ahmed. Why? Because the index start with 0. So if we write over here 0, then it should print Zubair. You see, printed Zubair. So if we write here length 6, so that means our string has 7 elements. So we only have 6 elements. That's why we are writing I is less than string.length. So that will be 6. So less than 6 is 5. So as long as I is less than 5, this loop should run. And if I goes to 6, this condition will be false, and then I, this loop will break. So let's, if you don't know loops, I know it's not our topic, but let me give you a quick demo. So you remember we just wrote an enhance for loop. So enhance for loop was doing the same thing. So let's do the same thing with this loop. So we're gonna do is sys out sysout control space, and what is we going to print in enhance for loop? You remember we just print s, and it did the same functionality we are trying to achieve with this loop. So what are we going to do is we are going to take my string at the index of I. So the first of all, I will be 0, and this will be 0, and it's going to print Zubair. Then when it comes over here, it goes back, and then I plus plus, so this 0 will become 1, and 1 will come over here. If it will check 1 is less than string.length, of course the length is 6, so 1 is less than 6, so it will again come here and it will put 1 over here instead of 0. Then it will print the 1. The index of 1 is Ahmed, and it will go back over here and do I plus plus. This will become 2. Then it will check 2 is less than I. Of course 2 is less than string my string.length. Yes, it is still less. Then it will come back and it will write 2 over here, and it will print Peter, and it will go back, and then I plus plus, it will be 3, and it will check I is 3 now. 3 is less than 6. Yes, it is less, and then it will come back and put 3 over here, and it will print John, and then it will be 4, and it will print Mary, and it will be 5. It will print early. When it will be 5, it will go back, and then it will check. So what is going on? If I is less than string.length, no, it's equal to string.length, this loop will break. This will be false then loop will be break. So let's run it. Where's the error we have? Okay, so we are going to print I here. Okay, let's run it. Run it. Yeah, good. Okay, print Zubair, Ahmed, Peter, John, Mary, and Ellie. Okay, so it printed our array, but we never solved the array problem. You remember what was our problem? Our problem was to check if there's any duplicates and how many times words have been repeated, right? So what we're gonna do is to check that you see it took I, right? So it took I is 0 and then I become 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So there should be a way I should take this I that is currently right now is 0. I mean it is Zubair right now. So I just want to do something to check in my loop, right? So we need something. What we need? We need something that will take our first element in an array and check it in the same array if it is duplicate or not, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create another loop for int. This time we call it j equals 0. Same thing, j is less than my string dot length and then j plus plus. Okay, let's do some debugging. For example, let's sys out here, sys out I, right? So if we sys out I here and sys out j here, what is it going to do for us? Let's print it. So you see what happened? It took 0 here, 0, and then I is equal to 0, I is less than string dot length, of course, I plus plus. So it came down here, it printed, and then of course the program go to the next statement, right? So what is in our next statement? Our next statement is another loop. So another loop is j equal to 0, j is less than string dot length, j plus plus, and then it printed j, right? So it went to the next statement. Excuse me. So when it come to the next statement, the loop didn't break. So this at this line, after this line, it didn't break because this condition never, this condition was never false. So from here, of course, you will say, okay, why then this condition was also not false? Why the loop came back over here? So what happened is, after this statement, it came to the next statement. So it has to execute this whole statement. Until this statement is done, it cannot go back. So until this statement, this condition is not false, this loop will not going to break and control will not go back. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna take j is 0. It will check j is less than let's write 6 instead of length, so you will know it better. So what's going on? So j is 0. Okay, j is less than 6. Yes, it is. So it will go and print out this statement. What is it? It's 0. So then what happened next? It went back to j plus plus. So now j have 1. The j is less than 1. Of course, it went down and print, j. What was j? J was 1. So it print 1. So then it went back, j plus plus, j is 2. 2 is less than 6. Yes, it is. So it printed 2. And so on until it printed 5. So then it went back up, 3, then 4, then 5. So 5 is less than 6. Yes, it printed 5 here, you see. And then what happened is, it went back, j plus plus, and it becomes 6. Is 6 less than 6? No, it's false. So when it is false, this statement is completed. The condition is, it executed the whole for loop. So what it did is it went back up. So now we have I0 already, right? So we have I0 here. I is 0. You see, I was 0. Then it checked the whole j until here. Then this statement was completed. Then it went back up. It did I plus plus. So I was 0. Let me do it again. I was 0. I was less than 6. It came back up, and now it has 1 now. So I is 1. I is less than 6. Yes, it printed I. Where is I? Right here. 1. It printed 1. Now the best thing, you see, it took 0 and it checked, it printed the whole 5 elements, right? So we can just use a condition here. We take like Zubair, right? And Zubair will be here, and then we can check if Zubair is in those 5 indexes or not, right? So we'll do it later. So let me explain the loop, what is going on the next step. The next step, when I is 1, I is less than 6, condition is true. Now we have what? Not 0. Now we have 1. So what with this 1 going to do is it's come over here until it is going to print j. The same this process will be repeated. You see, the j will print with 0 1 2 3 4 5. When the condition is false, it will go back up. Then this I become 2. You see, the I become 2, and until so on until this I is 6 and it's less than 6 is less than 6. It's false, and then the loop will be break. So this is just a debugging if our loop is working as required or not. Yes, it is working. So now let's do some real stuff. So what we're gonna do is, first of all, we are not going to write anything here. Okay, so we're gonna write a conditional statement. If if what the if means, if if this, if that, no. If I am smaller than you, okay, print something. If I'm not, then don't print something. So let's say we're gonna take this I of 0. You remember I told you how to print sys out my string at I. So it's how it printed the value of the string. So if we write 0, it is going to print, what is it going to print? Hold on, let me remove it. It's going to print Zubair, right? Print is Zubair. So if we take this string at 0, so we write a if statement. If, okay, my string at 0, and how we check if a value in a string, if there's a value in the same value in the string or not, how we compare it. We have one method we can call on string, dot contains, right? So that what dot contains is whatever you want to provide in here. So let's say you want to write Zubair. So if you see, if my string at 0, what is it? I told you what is it going to print? Zubair, right? So my string at 0, what is our 0 index? This is our 1 index, this is our 2 index, this is our 3, this is 4, and this is 5. So my string at 0 is Zubair, right? So if it checks if Zubair dot contains whatever you want to give here, if Zubair has Zubair, right? So if it is true, then sys out yes, it is here. So what is here? Plus, let's print it, my string at 0, right? So let's remove it so we can, okay, so let's run it. Let's see what it's gonna tell us. Oh wow. So it printed yes, Zubair is here. How many times? Until the loop condition is false. So it printed. So don't worry about it. Just forget about it. So just ignore all those other lines. I will explain them later. So just focus on this. So what we did, we said if my string at 0, my string at index 0 contains Zubair. If it is true, then print this statement. If it is false, it will not be executed. Let's write something funny here. So let's write funny. So let's see if string at 0, my string at 0 index have funny. If it is, then it should be printed, right? So let's see. You see, there is nothing in the console because it is not true. It is false. We do not have funny at the index of 0. We only have Zubair at the index of 0. Okay. just came back. Okay, so now let's modify this code. So you remember when we printed I and J last time, what it did is it took 0 and check, all J's, all 5 J's, if it is, there or not. It wasn't checking for if it is present or not, but it was printing, right? So what we can achieve the same functionality by using I over here. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna take I, which is coming from here, that is 0, and it will take I and it will see if, what is the I? Index is 0, that is Zubair, right? So if it is going to see if Zubair have what? Here, let's leave it here like Zubair. So what it did, it printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times. Why did it print it 6 times? So when we took, because we have only 6 Zubairs, how? It took Zubair first, that is index of 0, right? It took this one here. So let me just hold on. Just to explain, I'm writing over here. It had Zubair contains, it will check Zubair. Okay, what it is going to check if Zubair has Zubair, right? Zubair contains Zubair, I is 0, then we have Zubair over here. So it will check 6 times, then it will check how many times? 6 times. It will go to the next, when J is 0, check 1 time, then J is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, until this condition is false. It keep on checking. When this condition is false, of course it's gonna go back to the loop, back to the outer loop. So what it's gonna do is this, it will from I 0, so this is going to become 1 now, from I 0 to become 1. So now we have 1. So what we have at 1? Ahmad. So instead of Zubair, Ahmad is going to come over here. So when Ahmad come over here, it will check if Ahmad contains Zubair. It's not, so it's not gonna print this statement. So then it's gonna check Peter, then it's gonna check John, then it's gonna check Mary, it's gonna check Ali, if Ali contains Zubair or not. So all other conditions are false. That's why it's only printed 6. So let's see how can we, instead of checking only Zubair, what we can do. So instead of checking only Zubair, we can write dot contains, right? So what we can write is my string at J. So what happened? So my string at J means it will now check each and every element. It will only take Zubair and check again at this array. So before it was only checking, we wrote Zubair over here. So it was only checking Zubair. If Zubair, it was taking Zubair and checking Zubair was here, it found 1 time and it printed it 6 times. So then it took Ahmad and it checked if Ahmad has Zubair, it said no. Then Peter, then John, then Mary, right? So now what happened? So now it is dynamic. So it is not hard-coded. So it came down over here. So it took Zubair now and it checked at the index of my string, right? So index 1J is 0, Zubair is here. Then it come down, it printed this. Okay, then it went back up, J is 1. J is 1, it is Ahmad now. So Ahmad has Zubair? No. Peter has Zubair? No. John has Zubair? No. Mary has Zubair? No. And then we have Ali has Zubair? No. So then this condition is false. This condition is false. So it went back up. So I was 0, then I become 1, right? So when I become 1, what is 1? I is Ahmad. So now here we have Ahmad. We don't have Zubair anymore. So Ahmad, then J is again 0, right? It is the new loop now, right? So when this condition is false, it went back up. So that means this loop is finished and J is back to 0 now, right? This is like creating another J and assigning it value. So before we have J6 and that J6 is gone. Now J is 0 again. So J is 0 again, mean we have Zubair again over here. So what it's gonna do is, it's gonna take Ahmad, it's gonna check here if Ahmad has Zubair. No, false. Ahmad have Ahmad. Yes, Ahmad have Ahmad. So what it is true, it's gonna come down here and it's going to print, we have Ahmad over here 6 times, right? Remember? So the same process is going to do again and again. So let's run it and see. Okay, sorry, we have 0 here. We have to put a J over here. Okay, I and J, 0 J. Yep. So what happened is, it took first, you see, it took Zubair. It checked if Zubair has Zubair. It found 1. It print over here. Then it checked the whole against the whole array. It checked, okay, if Zubair is again over here or not. It check Ahmad. No, Ahmad is not equals, not contain Zubair. George doesn't contain Zubair. Mary doesn't contain Zubair. Ali doesn't contain Zubair. So the loop was everything was false and the condition unmet. It went back. It become 1. So now 1 has Ahmad, right? So then J is 0 again. J0 is Zubair. Ahmad has Zubair. No. Ahmad has Ahmad. Yes. It printed Ahmad over here. Then it checked the whole other array. It was not found, and then it came to Peter. So I become 2. So the 2 is Peter. You remember 0, 1, 2. The Peter, it will check J at 0, right? J at 0. If Peter, let me write here. This is now our 2, right? I at 2. So Peter contains what? If Peter contains Peter, right? If my string at I contains my string at j. So my string at j at 0 is Zubair. It become 1. It will become Ahmad. Then when it become 2p, it will become Peter. Peter contain Peter. Yes, it will be Peter here. So this is, it haven't done anything special, right? Because we do not have any duplicate. If we had any duplicate, then it would have printed over there. Let's write another Zubair, save it and run it. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it printed 2 Zubair, 1 Ahmad, and then printed 2 Zubair again, then Peter, then John, then Mary, then Ali. What's going on here? It should not have done it, right? Why? We are checking Zubair. There's only 2 Zubair, but we are getting here 4 Zubairs. This is because when it took Zubair, it checked in the whole array. Zubair has Zubair. Yes, it has. It printed 1. Then it checked Zubair again. Okay, it checked Ahmad. Okay, Ahmad is not Zubair. Zubair is Zubair. So it printed another Zubair. So then when I become 1, Ahmad here, right? So when Ahmad came over here, it checked if Zubair have Ahmad. The same thing happened before, right? So it only printed 1 Ahmad. So it came to Zubair again, right? So when it came to Zubair again, it checked here. If Zubair have Zubair, it printed yes, Zubair have Zubair. Then Ahmad have Zubair, no. Zubair have Zubair again, yes. So it printed Zubair again. Then it checked Peter, John, Mary, and Ali. So that's why it printed 2 Zubairs and 2 Ahmads. But it is not solving our problem. So what is our problem? Our problem is to check for the duplicates as well. But this is not even checking for the duplicates. It is writing a completely wrong output, right? So why is this happening? Because, this loops, as long as the loop will be running, and this condition is met, it's going to print it. So in the real example, we don't even need to print it. Okay, let's leave it for now. So to get rid of this problem, what are we going to do is, so we're going to create an integer here. Let's call it a equals 0. So we're going to use this integer to check for, how many times, this condition become true, right? So if Zubair contains Zubair, this a, let's do a plus plus. So this A is 0, right? So if this condition become true, this A become 1. Okay, then it go back up again and come back, and if this condition become true again, then A will become 2 instead of 1. A will become 2. So if there is only one element, right, it should not print here, because we are looking for the duplicates. There is no use if it even contain one element and it start printing over here like it did here. You see, Ahmad is only one. Why it is coming here? Leave alone these why it's coming twice. I will get to it later. Just solve the problem step by step. So the problem right now we are facing is it is not even repeating, and why it is printing the Peter and John and Mary and Ellie, right? So that's why, because if this condition become true and it was going to print this. So what are we going to do is, so when this condition become true only one time, that means that item is only one time in the array, right? So when it go back and check for the item again, it found again, this condition become true again, and it gonna print it again, right? So like happened over here. So what are we going to do is, we just write a conditional statement here. If this A is greater than 1, right? So if this A is only 1, that means there's only this item came in the string array only one time. So if this A is greater than 1, then print this statement. Otherwise it is not going to print this statement. Let's run it. Okay, so it's printing Zubair, Ahmed, and then Zubair, then Peter, then John, and Mary and Ellie. Why is it? Okay, let me tell you why. Because you see, let me sys out n. Oh, sorry, A. What is in A right now? And you will see it will have a whole different number. You see, this it started at 0, right? So it became 1, then it became 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, and then 8, right? So it is keep on increasing. So every time it is coming over here, this condition is becoming true. So that's why we have even a bigger problem. Why? Because after what we should do is, when this loop end, right, then this condition met or not met, this loop, when this loop end, it should reset our A to 0. If it is not resetting our A to 0, when next time this loop come over here, it will have the other value in the A already. So what we have to do is, after this loop, we have to, where the loop ending? Here, not here. Let's see. Okay, my code is everywhere. Let's fix it a little bit. Okay, so where the loop is ending, let me see. Here, okay, here the loop is ending. So after the loop, what we are going to do is, we're going to assign A back to 0. So now next time, when this loop ends, the A is 0, it will go back and check only A become 1, 2 or 3 if this condition become, this condition is true again. If this condition is not true, A is going to be 0 or whatever, you see. So let's run it again and see what happened. You see, it only printed Zubair. Let's get rid of it. Okay, so yes, it only printed Zubair. Why it only printed Zubair? Because this A only become greater than 1 only one time, right? So it only printed Zubair over here. So kind of our algorithm is working, but it is not working. It has a lot of bugs in it. I'll show you how, but let me just explain you what happened over here. So you remember, everything is gone. Why? Because it is only going to print this statement if what? If A is greater than 0, that means A is duplicate. If A is not duplicate, it's not going to print this statement. Okay, so will it not be nice, instead of printing it over here, we can store this duplicate value into something and print it later, or we can use it later for something, whatever our business logic is. So we can use that duplicate later. so we can show it later how many time it comes or whatever. So let's create a string name duplicates, you know. Oh wow, duplicates, and it's an empty string. So what we're gonna do is, instead of printing it to console, let's print it also, and don't print it. What we are going to do is, instead of printing it, we're gonna put this into our duplicates. So our duplicate, how we assign it to duplicates plus equal my string at I. So instead of printing it, we now let's run it. You will see nothing in the console because we are printing nothing. So now our duplicate has string at I. So let's print it where we can print it, where this loop is ending. This loop is ending here. Let's print it out here. This is out duplicates. Okay, so this is going to give us two bears, right? You see, two bears. Okay, let's fix our code a little bit. What is it?